As a former RLCS commentator, I'm always interested to see the developments of players that I think have very unique positions within the scene. Players that have shown they can kind of do it all. Players that have shown that not only can they cast, can they coach, can they play as a professional, and sometimes that comes with a very difficult decision. Sometimes you see certain players have the decision to be made of which direction do they want to pivot. Kind of early iterations of this, you saw the acquisition of Turtle. You saw Turtle play for a very successful team in the billions of iterations of what the Orbit roster was with Garrett G and J-Raw/Moses way back in the day, where they were Vex and Turbulence and Atelier, and eventually went to the rival series with Dignitas and did a whole bunch of things. I mean, heck, the guy's got a song now in-game that you can purchase, and has been creating music alongside also becoming one of the more defined casters in the RLCS. Shout outs to Turtle. That's my basically little brother, and he's been absolutely killing it. But you see this kind of evolution of players where they are multi-talented. There's so many facets to their desires. And in particular, you're seeing one of these opportunities open up for another player in the scene. Primarily, we're talking about the one and only RollDizz. If you guys haven't seen RollDizz's success, I was always a big fan of RollDizz, and I thought he retired from pro play a little bit too early. I actually got to sit down and talk with him at the RLCS World Championships for a little bit and just kind of gush about what he's doing and the things that he can provide that, quite honestly, no one else can. To provide some, I guess, history to this, we have to go back all the way to Season 8, which ironically enough is the last LAN that we got to see in person. But he was playing with the E United roster where they qualified for top 4 in North America playoffs against NRG. They lost in the quarterfinals and were able to then secure a spot as one of the teams representing North America at the World Championships, where they ultimately placed 9th to 12th after losing 2-3 to Veloce. Shortly after this, you did see RollDizz kind of take a step back. We didn't really get to see his involvement as a player, and I always felt that it was a little bit too soon. I felt like he was one of the better players actually on the roster and could have been a starting player for a lot of different teams, but he ended up going the coaching route, helping out the Sonics and others, until ultimately the Sonics roster then transitioned recently over to Ghost Gaming. And based upon the roster hints and things we talked about in actually yesterday's video, you are starting to see Hoxer, previous of Exit, now make the transition and rumors toward Ghost Gaming team. And you look at that and we talk about the domino effect of all these players transitioning, and you look at, well, who's Hoxer going to replace? And at this point, it's almost guaranteed to be RollDizz. And that's not because RollDizz is a bad player by any means, but I just look at the results of what RollDizz has been doing lately. He is a staple as one of the broadcast talent, not only in the RLCS, and very successful results as an interviewer, as an analyst for the team at the RLCS Winter Split Major, but also one of the premier talent when it comes to the First Touch podcast, and has become a staple as one of the broadcast talent and premier talent in Rocket League. A very recognizable face with a very distinct style. And while you have T-Bates as this boisterous, above and beyond entertainment figure, you have RollDizz as kind of the voice of reason. He is the contrast that really balances out, which is absolutely crucial. It is something that you need in every good broadcast. Not only do you need the animated and the Jorby-esque rants every once in a while, which are very, very solid for entertainment, the bold takes, but you also need someone who has been there, done that, and quite honestly, he's the only one who says they can do that. Not only has he been a professional player and played at LAN, he's also coached a very successful team and now has done broadcast talent work. He has done literally every facet there is to do in the RLCS. He's literally done it all. And at this point, I wish him luck because I don't know how you choose. If your RollDizz, you have to sit down and decide, what am I going to do moving forward? What is my future? And quite honestly, he and I talked about this. He and I, during our talk in the VIP section very briefly, was not only a formal, like, congratulations, you're absolutely killing it, but also, hey man, lean into that. And I gave him a little bit of advice, and hopefully he doesn't mind me sharing this, but I talked to him like, you do know, like, you are a very unique situation compared to anybody else. You do have the ability to not only lean on as a player, your relationships with other players, provide insight in interviews, things that quite honestly no one else can do. No one else can feel that and present that in a way that you can, and that is a very valuable skill trait. I think it's very interesting to provide that insight, and while Turtle is doing the casting side of things, RollDizz as a desk talent, kind of like Gibbs, can provide insight and can talk about those things, especially if he leans into it, which I think he's fully aware of. Part of the reason why I think First Touch is so successful is because he does have that insight of what goes into behind the scenes that a lot of us, myself included, aren't privy to. We don't have the privilege of seeing what goes on behind the scenes and the interactions, both from the infrastructure side of things and the backing of a team with a coach, but also as a player who has done it. I mean, what other player has played successfully, gone to a world championship, transitioned to a coach, gone back to a starting roster, and shown success after having to step in as a sub, and then able to kind of just dabble in everything else while busy? Like, kudos, man. Like, RollDizz is killing it, and I'm excited to see what those steps take. And then I also thought about it. CJ could do the exact same thing. Again, this was just kind of like rattling my brain, and some of the exciting things about kind of being directly involved at one point and now taking a step back is kind of seeing this evolution and this new generation of talent, both in the player side as well as the coach broadcast talent side. There's a lot of unique perspectives as the Rocket League esport, I think, begins to grow. I think we are entering that golden period, as I've mentioned like so many times, of Rocket League. I think the Psyonix esports staff has recognized the faults and the growing pains of an esport, and now after having, 5 going on 6 years of experience, are starting to transition into what could be one of the best esports in the world. I recently got back from the CDL major and looked at Call of Duty, and by all means, as awesome as it was, you can tell how very special Rocket League is, and the RLCS in particular, when you're able to attend live. You can't really quite put your finger on it, but it's just different. And seeing the efforts with an outdoor and an indoor studio and everything else going along with it, that feeling of traditional sport, something that is very tough to capture, is also shining very brightly on the Rocket League esports scene. So I'm excited. You see what could be happening with RollDizz, and I think, quite honestly, CJ is also going to have to make that decision. By all means, he's on the best team in OCE right now, and he has a whole season to get through and another split in a world championship. But I wouldn't be surprised at the end of the world championship that you don't see CJ also make that transition, quite possibly. Because if I'm being completely candid, you look at how much of a natural both these guys are on the desk and what they're doing, and you've seen CJ cast tournaments. I mean, heck, he helped me out with the Brawl at one point. But you do see that as soon as CJ has been relinquished from the tournament, immediately he gets brought on for dedicated talent work. It's something super valuable, and by all means, it's a great position to be in, but it is not an easy decision to make. What I will say, though, is I am excited to see what decision they do make moving forward, whether it be as a pro, whether it be as a coach, or as it be broadcast talent. Whatever it is, sky's the limit for all of these players, but without being too cringe, these boys are both shooting for the stars. It is unbelievable to see the development of people we've seen start very, very early in their careers, primarily CJ. Talking to him at season 4 in Dallas. No, season 4 in DC. I'm pretty sure he came up to me in the line for Shake Shack, and to what he is now is absolutely incredible. So with that said, I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully you guys enjoy this kind of thought process that I'm going through. I'm interested to see on what the steps are taking, but this is me kind of just putting a little like star next to both their names. But the future of RollDizz primarily, as well as CJ, I'm excited. Come back to this video. We're going to see this not until probably next season, but I am very curious to see the evolution of both of these two players and what comes from it in the future. If you guys enjoy this type of content and you enjoy this kind of like insider kind of thought process that I'm going through, let me know in the comments down below if you'd like me to do more videos like this, and some of the stupid conversations that I have internally in my head just being voiced publicly as well. But that is going to do it for this video. If you do enjoy it, give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.